It didn't take long for me to realise that something was amiss. Usually, nobody would suspect me, the quiet little bookworm, of having so many creepy little, though I regret to call them this, fetishes. It wasn't as if I didn't know that such things were wrong. It's just that I didn't think any harm could be done if I just thought about them and didn't act. Only one part of the whole thing began to worry me. I used to separate what I do to soothe my hormones and what I did to soothe my mind separately. Then I found myself disgusted when I noticed what the combination of both did to me. It scared me, and eventually, that fear grew into excitement. Soon, this became my little piece of paradise. I knew it was sick, but letting my imagination roam was completely harmless, right? I remember just falling back on my bed behind a locked door and letting my hand slip between my legs, finding a fulfilling satisfaction as I closed my eyes and let my hand fondle round. This wasn't too different from what I had done as a teenager. However, what was on my mind was quite different. I used to think of the girls I wanted to lure into my bedroom, but I was always too shy to. I even had the occasional fantasy of men I admired. Not that I'd ever tell them about it, but this was different. My imagination transformed my room into a dusty and dark place with blood-stained sheets. In fact, the coppery scent of blood overtook my sense for a moment, only to cause me to snap back into reality. When I opened my eyes, the smell was gone. I always did have a powerful imagination. This continued for a few more months. Every time, the thoughts got more and more vivid. Once I was past finding something disturbing, I would embrace it, and it would become a new, nasty little thing that I could get off on. I only shoot myself from one thought that kept returning. I kept mutilating my lover. I remember in that repeating thought, I had her wrists and ankles to the bedpost. It was just a normal daydream of an adult romp. That is, until I started stabbing her in non-vital areas of the body. I usually snapped out of it at that point. Yet that sick little part of me wouldn't let me go. I carved my name into her chest as she screamed in pain. She cries muffled by nothing other than my left hand. Though she struggled and flailed, I only stayed where I was. No amount of what she could do while bound would buck me off. I admired my work, removing my left hand from her mouth. Of course, she began to accuse me of being a crazy bitch. I refused to hear it all. I grabbed a pillow and held it over her face until her body quit thrashing. She had lost consciousness. I tossed the pillow aside and looked down at her. She looked like she was sleeping. She was so peaceful. Normally something like that would warm my heart, but there was something wrong. She wasn't smiling. I drew my knife across her mouth, carving a smile into her face. She woke as I was just finishing, screaming and thrashing all over again. Oh, I wanted to look at her. I wanted to see that pretty smile. I wanted to see my name and the way that it marred her perfect white skin. But she wouldn't let me. I kissed her bloody mouth, and the last thing it did was soothe her like it used to. She cried, and I licked away the tears. The tears and the blood mixing only made my heart race. It was like I was in love for the first time. I opened my eyes this time. I opened them, and then I saw that it wasn't my imagination anymore. I pulled my mouth from hers and stared down to her. Tears continued to streak her cheeks, and the fresh wounds I had left on her face were still bleeding. My heart was throbbing in my chest, and I drew my hands up to my face to gasp in horror. It wasn't my imagination. What about all those other things I dreamed up? Had I done those too? I stared down into those accusing eyes. I could hear her trying to say something, but she was too hoarse from her screams to even speak. For some reason, I felt no regret. I knew I should, but I didn't. A grin began to creep over my face. I felt the corner of my lips being tugged at, even though I knew this was no time to be smiling. Still half naked, I leaned over her, only to whisper sweetly, "Baby, you've made me so happy." Afterwards, I curled my arms around her to sleep. I didn't know what made me do that. I don't know if I really cared at the time, or if I was happy with what I turned her into. She was mine now, even if she got away from me somehow. I don't think anyone would want her now. We had broken up a few times previously, and I knew that she had seen other men. But who would want her now? I'd still want her. I kept her tied down, and I kept feeding her and giving her water. She refused the first few times, but eventually, she just let it happen. She caved to my will. I told her what a good girl she was, and she only sobbed and kept repeating one phrase. "Why, Jason? Why?" Soon her friends had realized that they hadn't seen her. They must have known something had happened. When they arrived, they realized how weird I was acting. They shoved past me, only to find her in the state I had left her in. I knew that I was officially fucked. That's how I got where I am now. I'm in a mental institution. I never heard from Casey again, but now I have other focuses. I close my eyes, and my fantasies come to life. I'm actually quite happy this way. I only regret one thing. I wish I could taste the combination of blood and tears again.